Hello and welcome to this video. Continuing from my last video, I configured VTP using a simple topology where I used only two switches. In this video, I'm going to configure a VTP to run on multiple switches where I will have two core switches which will be running as the server. All these interfaces will be configured as trunks, and I'll configure this switch 3 and switch 4 to be VTP clients, and therefore they will receive VTP information either from switch 1 or switch 2 over here. So at the moment, I'll start from switch 1, config T, and I'll first configure all these trunks to be in these interfaces to be in the trunk mode. But I need to set VTP mode to be transparent to prevent the switch from propagating VLAN information. And I'll apply same to switch 2, config T, VTP mode transparent, and same applies to switch 3, config T, VTP mode transparent. Same applies to switch 4 over here, config T, VTP mode transparent. So at the moment, VLAN information can't be transferred across these switches because there's no track interface 1, and then 2, these switches are configured to be in transparent mode, and therefore they aren't accepting any VLAN or DTP information from neighboring switches. So first I'll enable trunk interfaces. So interface range E0/0 to 2 switch port trunk encapsulation.1Q, and switch port mode dynamic desirable, and dynamic desirable will auto configure these switches interfaces to be in a trunk mode, and therefore enabling communication with neighboring switches. So there will be no need to enable trunk interfaces on these switches because dynamic desirable will auto negotiate trunk interfaces with these neighboring switches. And all that we got to do is enable the encapsulation on these interfaces on these switches, with the exception of switch 1, which will be configured separately. So dynamic desirable, and at the moment I can do show interface trunk, and as you can see, trunk has been formed with neighboring switches on interface 00, which connects to switch 2, and then interface 01, which is connecting to switch 3, and then interface 02, which is connecting to switch 4. So on switch 2, I can do show interface trunk, and as you can see, interface 00 has formed a trunk with switch 1. All is left with the configuration of the encapsulation. So I'll do that later on, but at the moment, let me configure VTP mode server, VTP domain, CCNA. Okay, so I'll do show VTP status. Currently, it seems I have two VLANs already in the topology. So to avoid revision, increase in revision number, which can affect our topology, I'll first set the VTP mode transparent once again, and then I'll do show VLANs brief. So I have VLAN 10 and VLAN 2 active, so I'll do no VLAN 10, no VLAN 20, and I'll change VTP mode back to server. So do show VTP status. I have 5 existing VLANs with a revision number of 0, and it's currently in server mode, and the domain is CCNA over here. So on switch 2 over here, I'll do show interface trunk, and currently trunk has been formed on interface 00. So all is left with is to configure the encapsulation interface 00 switch port trunk encapsulation.1Q, And after configuring the encapsulation, you will notice the encapsulation will change to 802.1q. So exit, do show interface trunk, and as you can see, it has changed over here. So moving on to switch 3, I will do show interface trunk. At the moment, interface 00 here has formed a trunk with switch 1. So let's go ahead and configure the encapsulation on the interface. So interface E/0 switch port encapsulation switch port trunk and encapsulation.1q, and if I do show interface trunk, you can see the encapsulation is now E02.1q. So I'll go to switch 4 and I'll do show interface trunk, and currently we have interface 01 over here forming a trunk. So I'll run interface 0/1 switch port switch port trunk encapsulation.1q, and if I do show interface trunk, at the moment you have 802.1q. So what is left is to configure dynamic or desirable on this interface of switch 2, interface 02 and interface 01. So as you can see on switch 4 over here, we have only one interface configured as a trunk, which is 001. So back to switch 2 over here, I'll go to interface range E/0122 switch port encapsulation trunk encapsulation.1q, and then the switch port mode dynamic desirable, and at the moment I should see 3 interfaces in trunk mode. Do show interface trunk, and as you can see 00 is in auto, and then this one is 01 and then 02 are in dynamic desirable. So on switch 3 over here, I should see a new interface added to the interface trunk, and as you can see interface 01 is in trunk mode but the encapsulation is wrong. So I'll do interface E/01 switch port trunk encapsulation.1q, and I'll do show interface trunk, and as you can see now the encapsulation is 802.1q. So on switch 4 I should see new interface added, which is interface 00. So interface range interface E/00. So switch port encapsulation trunk encapsulation.1q, exit, and I'll do show interface trunk, and as you can see now we have 2 interfaces on switch 4 in trunk mode with encapsulation of 802.1q. Same applies to switch 3 over here, and then on switch 2 we have 3 interfaces configured, and on switch 1 same applies to do show interface trunk. You have all the interfaces in trunk mode and with encapsulation of 802.1q. Same applies to switch 2. Okay, so on switch 3 and 4 we will configure the VTP mode to be client, so it can accept VTP information from neighboring switches. So do show VTP status, currently 0, and then on switch 4 I'll change to client, do show VTP status, at the moment is 5, and on switch 2 do show VTP status, it's still in transparent, so VTP mode server, so do show VTP, do show VTP status. We have 5, and on switch 1 over here, do show VTP status server. So at the moment, I'm going to configure VLANs, and then we have switch 1 and 2 being a server. That means they can all create VLANs, and then switch 3 and switch 4 acting as client to accept VLAN information from either switches. So on switch 1, I'll create a VLAN 10, exit, and I'll do show VLAN brief. Currently, I have a VLAN 10 active. Do show VTP status, and I have 6 VLANs with a revision number of 1 because we created a new VLAN. First it was 0. So on switch 2, we should see the VLAN number changed to 6. So we have existing VLANs of 6 with a revision number of 1 because we created a VLAN 10 on switch 1 over here, and then because of VTP, VLAN information has been transferred to this switch. What about the switch 3 and switch 4? So I will do show VTP status, and we also have existing VLANs of 6 because switch 3 received VLAN information from switch 1 over here. So on switch 4, let's check, do show VTP status, and currently we have 6 because switch 4 over here received VTP information from switch 1 on interface 02, which is in the trunk mode. So on switch 2, I am going to configure VLAN 20 on switch 2 to see if it will propagate VLAN information to neighboring switches, since switch 2 here has been configured as a server. So I'll do exit, do show VTP status. We have 7 and a revision number of 2. So let's check from switch 1. So do show VTP status. We have 7 existing VLANs. Okay. And on switch 3, let's check to see. Do show VTP status. We have existing VLANs of 7 because VLAN information was transferred on interface 02 to interface 01 of switch 3. And let's check on switch 4. Do show VTP status. We have 7 because VLAN information was transferred from interface 01 to switch 4 in a trunk mode with encapsulation of 802.1q. So let's check the VLANs. Do show VLAN brief, and as you can see, we have VLAN 10 created by switch 1 and then VLAN 20 by switch 2 over here. So on switch 2, do show VLAN brief. We have VLAN 10 created by switch 1 and then VLAN 20 created by switch 2. So on switch 3 over here, do show VLAN brief. So we have VLAN 10 from switch 1 on this interface, and then VLAN 20 from switch 2 on this interface, and on switch 4, do show VLAN brief. We have VLAN 10 on this interface from switch 1, and then VLAN 2 from this interface interface 00 from switch 2 to switch 4. So VLAN 3, switch 3 and switch 4 were configured as clients. So let's see if they can create VLANs. So I'll type VLAN 30, and as you can see, VTP configuration not allowed when a device is configured in the client mode. So let's try and check on switch 4, VLAN 40, same error applies here. So that's how to create VTP in a more complex topology. Thanks for watching this video, and see you in my next video.